you freestyle rap at all?
Not yet.
Doesn't it appear to be extremely coincidental that you guys arrest people right outside of Governor Newsom's press conference? Is this really just a show of power?
Patriots, this is Secret Service Sam. Welcome to Samson's World. That is right. Come on into the chat, ladies and gentlemen. This is Samson's World, where court comedy, culture, and your world collide. Thank you, Jesus Christ, for the solid intro. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do like my intro. I love that song. It reminded me of kind of like an 80s, like night court. I don't know, like kind of an 80s court show drama kind of sound. Let me get my hair looking right for this here podcast. This is Samson's World, where court comedy, culture, and your world collide. Oh my God. Yesterday on the feed, we had 15,000 people. 15,000 people watching. Now, most of those were a lot of MAGA freaks watching the podcast, but that's okay because, like Jesus, your boy, I accept all here on this podcast. This is an equal opportunity podcast. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Hey, Sam. Hey, Standerk. How are you doing, man? Thank you for coming on to the podcast. Guys, I am so happy. I just started. I'm an official correspondent reporter for the Midas Touch. That has been a dream of mine for about the last year and a half to figure out a way to get on their network. And yesterday was huge. I had over 2 million views across all platforms. Thank you, Arab Queen. I appreciate the follow. Find Nick. Yes, please, guys. Find me Nick Shirley. I know he was in San Diego, California. I haven't seen him do any reports. I wonder if because he's not able to find as much fraud. Did you see Adam's post? No, I didn't. Can you please send me the link if you don't mind? Or just tell me in the comments, Arab Queen, what did Adam say? But yeah, I want to find Nick Shirley, that little twerpy, squirrely Shirley. I call him Squirrely Shirley, because he seems so uneducated. I mean, he's a 23-year-old kid. He didn't know what benevolent meant, which means kind and generous for anybody not aware. He's like benevolent. I mean, it's like, dude, Nick Shirley. And Nick Shirley's family was involved in fraud. Let me read you a little bit about that while I'm thinking about it. Let's see here. 1 second, Patriots. Hang on 1 minute. Was Nick Shirley's family involved in fraud? Here we go. Nick Shirley is an American YouTuber. Deputy Poo, nobody cares. Mother Brooke Shirley. Controversy. In late 2025, there's videos. No, that was the fraud. Nick Shirley is an active. Oh, here we go. All we know about YouTuber's parents and Minnesota. I cannot believe they had him testifying before he just seems dumb. I hate to call people names, but he just seems dumb. Let me see. I'm looking up on his parents. Public information indicates that Nick Shirley is the son of Paul Shirley and Brooke Shirley, according to the famous. He had 5 known siblings. About his family, and they do not appear to be involved in his reporting in public. Okay, let me find it. Nick Shirley, family fraud. Let's find it. Come on into the mix, everybody. We had 15,000 people in the feed yesterday. Adam said Nick tried to go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting and someone shooed him out. Adam Mockler, I sent the link on IG. Okay, great. I need to try and figure this out. So he tried to go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Do you know if that was in San Diego, Arab Queen? By the way, shout out. I love all my Arab brothers and sisters. And yes, you are a queen. If you could give me any information, was he in San Diego? I'm trying to see if he's made it to the Los Angeles area because San Diego is not that close. Nick Shirley's family committed fraud and paid a $20,000 fine. Here we go. I think we have something. Nick Shirley's family committed fraud and paid a $20,000 fine. Here's the court order. Kenneth Rushton in his capacity of chairperson. Let's see. I'm just trying to find this here information. Nick Shirley's family committed fraud and paid a $20,000. It appears that Nick Shirley was lying about alleged Minnesota daycare fraud. Nick Shirley's investigation and fraud scandal. Here's what really happening. Fact check. What's really happening? Come on, guys. Nick Shirley's family commits fraud. Let's see. Let me see here. Based on reports, there is no evidence YouTuber Nick or his family, including his mother, Brooke Shirley, committed fraud. Rather, Nick Shirley is alleged that the Somali. Okay. Somebody was telling me, but do you guys have any information? Because I had heard, I heard that Nick Shirley's family had committed fraud. Now, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Trump is not making it to 2028. Well, that would just be wishful thinking. Nick, I suspect, is a fraud. Yep. Here we go. Trump 2028. Guys, I got to say, MAGA is a lie. MAGA is a lie. You know how I know? Because even your own girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, says it. And again, find me Nick Shirley. If he's here in California, please let me know where he is. Nick Shirley. If Nick Shirley is a hero to you, then I seriously worry about yourself. He's a 23-year-old kid who is he does not appear to have much of an education. He didn't even know what benevolent meant. I'm a very sickly guy and I look better than him. That's hilarious. Are you the Secret Service agent that killed Ashley Babbitt? Yeah, you don't remember me? You're so funny. You know, no, that's not me. But R.I.P. Ashley Babbitt, but really R.I.P. Alex Preddy, R.I.P. Renee Good. If you're upset about Ashley Babbitt, who stormed our Capitol, I mean, good Lord, you guys are hilarious with this. Now, MAGA is a lie. You've all been lied to. It's going to be hard to figure it out. Holy shit, you Democrats are so effing stupid. You're all just clickbait, get a job, stop living off everybody else who works. Right, Dave. I have a job. I make money. I really appreciate it. And let me do this for all the trolls who think you guys got some guts. Trump 2020, and if you're an idiotic person, you are a disgrace. Okay, Marjorie, that wasn't really a good sentence. He can't run in 2028. Does anybody remember the Constitution? You're only allowed to run twice. MAGA equals dumb. Yeah, and MAGA equals lies. What do you think of the Jay-Z and Pusha T distraction they put out? You know, I'm not sure. They tried to get Jay-Z and involve him in the Diddy stuff. Remember Tony Busby? He was a total fraud. I don't know. Vance 2028. I don't know, man. Vance is discussing if Vance hates Trump. How do you guys like Vance when he hated Trump? Let me pull up the video for you. It just never ends well. Vance hates Trump. He's a never Trump guy. How do you guys like that? Let's pull this in.
Trump is a really bad candidate.
Trump is I mean, dude, these politicians are so fake. The fact that anybody trusts or believes any of the bullshit that is spewed by these people is amazing. Do not idolize politicians. That is my one message. If you hear anything at all today from me, do not idolize politicians. It's a mistake because they don't care about you. Why? Because they all have foreign interests. They're being paid by somebody else to screw you for money. But here is JD Vance. All right, let's go. Vance 2028. Let's hear what he said about Trump.
Trump guy. I never liked him.
It's that Trump is a really bad candidate,
and frankly, I think a really bad person.
I agree.
Look, we told you so. To all these white working class voters, we told you so. We told you that Trump was going to be a terrible candidate. We told you that you were an idiot.
That's so funny. Everybody's getting so offended by what Billie Eilish said. Yes, all Americans technically are on stolen land. This was Native American land back in the day. I don't know why that's so hard to just say. It's not really a bad thing. It's just knowing history. We slaughtered the Native Americans and we took the land from them. It's called colonization. It happens all over the world. It's just a matter of reading a history book and, just saying, okay, that happened. It was wrong, and we're trying to make up better. Just, you got to be aware of history.
You voted for him.
And my biggest problem with Trump, and there are many, many things to pick out, but my biggest problem with Trump is that his message to the right, especially the white working class of which I came from, is anti-conservative and in some ways anti-American.
Well, Mr. President,
right.
I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me.
Wow, I can't even listen to that. What an ass kisser. Erica Kirk had Charlie killed to keep her affair with J.D. Vance a secret. I think it's deeper than that, actually. Allegedly. I do agree, allegedly, that Erica Kirk was involved. I think Charlie Kirk was starting to pull away from the whole Israel first America thing. I think he had spoken about it before. I think they were offering him allegedly $150 million. I don't think he took the bait. And I think Erica Kirk, she hasn't shed one real tear. Can you show me a video where she has one real tear? I've never seen anybody like her 11 days after she was giddy. If anything, God forbid, happened to anybody I love like that, you wouldn't see me. My podcast would be done. I'd be sitting in a room, hugging my children. I am, you are not. I'm not. Is that like I know you are, but what am I? Right. America land everybody at basically illegal except for the Native Americans. Exactly. Trump had Kirk killed. Yeah. See, I was saying this is all alleged, guys, because we're getting crazy here. But honestly, if you're really asking me what I think, allegedly he staged his assassination attempt. Okay. You don't get to usher in photographers. You don't get to drop the American flag down. No Secret Service alive would let a U.S. president pop their head back up for a photo op when there's an active shooter out there. Why do we not know the name of the shooter? We know every other. We know John Wilkes Booth, Ciron, pretty much every famous person who killed a president or tried to. We know who that is. We have no clue about this guy who attempted to kill Trump. Also, look at Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson bit off his ear, and it still bit off. An ear, a 30-aught. All you 2As who've shot a gun, you know that it's just not possible. So, moving on, I do believe Charlie Kirk was saying things they didn't agree with, allegedly, and I think they took him out as a calculated effort to martyr him and get him to shut up forever. And I believe Erica, if Erica wasn't in on it, she just doesn't. Thank you. And I'm so sorry about that, Stan. I'm really sorry for your loss. Yeah, that's terrible to hear. I'm so sorry. But I think, to your point, there's a natural reaction. I would be sobbing and crying every day. I wouldn't go to be on the podcast. If my wife was the biggest podcaster in the world, I'd be like, I'm not going on that fucking podcast. Podcast is dead. Let somebody else do it. I'm not doing it. Sincerely serious Cope to think he'd fake that. Why wouldn't he fake it? Look at 9/11. You guys really think buildings, and this is all allegedly, you really think buildings just fall like that, guys? Like it can control demolition? I think 9/11 was also, you guys, you have to understand, they will kill, allegedly, American citizens to get what they need, to get us to say, okay, go to war, right? So you got to wake up and realize nobody is on our side. But MAGA is a lie. If you don't believe it, don't believe me. Do not listen to me saying MAGA is a lie. Listen to your sweetheart,
I think people are realizing it was all a lie.
What?
It was a big lie for the people.
What?
What MAGA is really all
What?
a lie, all a
What?
lie, all a lie, all a lie, all a lie.
Whoa.
It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really serving is, in this administration, who they're serving is their big donors, the big donors that donated all the money and continue to donate to the president's PACs and donate to the 250th anniversary and are donating to the big ballroom. And if they're donating to all these things, those are the people that get the special favors, they get the government contracts, they get the pardons, or somebody they love or one of their friends gets a pardon.
Yeah.
And it's the foreign countries that are running the show here. It's the major big corporations.
Yeah.
And what is best for the world. That's really what MAGA is. That's the results. That's what we're seeing after one full year of MAGA.
Wow. Did you guys hear that? That is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was as MAGA as they come. I think she was 1,000% in on it. Yes, Kelsey. It's just, you don't lose your husband like that and smile or go on. It's just, everything about it is unnatural. You'd be at home with your children. No critical thinking happening here with Sam. Really? Well, how about this? Come say it to my face. Anybody, MAGA, not MAGA, I just put who is they? That's a good question. That is a good question. I don't know who they is. Yes, it was totally sus. Guys, look at it. Let me ask you a question. Donald Trump was a draft dodger. He's never served for our country. He's not a tough guy, okay? And forget about that. If you were shot at, okay, if somebody tried to shoot you, almost took your head off, do you think you would then pop your head out and go, fight, fight, fight? Would you put your head up anywhere and risk getting shot again? It was such a staged, allegedly, it was so staged. And look, and people are saying, but Sam, somebody was killed. I know. Look at 9/11. Thousands of Americans were killed. I mean, this has been happening throughout history where, even Netanyahu, I was just watching the thing. He said, blow up a bus of school children, and then morality goes out the window. You can then have an excuse to do anything you want. Yes. Who takes a picture after? It's just James. James, you get it. You're smart. It's just, and I'm so sorry that, what kind of chair is the cuck chair in your room? It's blue like this. Can you see it? It's this is my cuck chair over there. Yeah. Do you want to come sit in it while I fuck your wife, bitch? Come on the show. Come on the show. Look at this. Here's the link to the show. No MAGA ever has the balls to come on and talk to my face. It's so hilarious. Come on. There is the link. All you got to do, dummies, is copy and paste it and come on in. Yes. Why are we protecting pedophiles? That's my true. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a proven liar and opportunist that flip-flops like a fish out of water, and you think she's being honest now? I don't know. I never was a fan of hers, but she's calling it out. You don't think MAGA's a lie? Republicans, hit the like button or I'll put yogurt in your sacks. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. Wow, what happened to her? I guess everyone can be bought. I think she's just, I don't know. Is she telling the truth or what's going on? Why are you guys protecting pedophiles? That is my question. Look at this. Let me bring up President Trump protecting pedophiles because he is the leading pedophile protector. Take down all Democrats, take down all Hollywood, take down all Republicans that are on the Epstein list. Period.
Administration is collapsing under the weight of their ever-expanding ties to a global child rape ring. And rather than do the right thing, Republicans are trying to change the subject. But please do not insult America's intelligence by trying to make this conversation about the Clintons.
Right.
First of all, the Clintons have publicly called for the government to release all the Epstein files, unlike Donald Trump, who said he would release them all, but then he backtracked. There's millions more documents that have still not been released. And if the logic here is that anyone with ties to Epstein should answer questions about what they knew,
Oh, Snappy
I'm all
says.
for it.
Okay,
The Clintons want to
come on.
cooperate.
Eden.
They sent written declarations of what they...
Hang on a second. Eden, let me add you to this. How are you doing, Eden?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Oh, I am lovely. And I really appreciate you coming on to the feed. I always put the link in the comments. And honestly, nobody is ever brave enough to just come talk to me. I mean, I'm a nice guy. I like to be fair. So where are you at, Eden? It looks like it's chilly where you are.
It's chilly here. I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
dang,
it's
Wisconsin.
chilly.
Okay. My brother and sister went to University of Wisconsin in Madison. I love Wisconsin.
Okay, nice.
Is there something you would like to say to the people or come in and talk and just share your opinion? I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I didn't have anything specific. I know that I just came on and I just wanted to kind of hang out with you and watch whatever videos you wanted to show, and so we can just kind of discuss, and so you're not by yourself.
No, thank you. Well, and I appreciate that. Now, because I put it in, I have everybody call me every name under the sun. They like to call me gay, like that hurts my feelings. I have a wife and 3 kids.
Right.
And also I always say, like, being gay, what is wrong? That's not kind of some kind of slur to me at all.
Right.
But how do you feel, Eden, on everything that's coming out with these Epstein files and stuff? Do you think we should just, no matter who's on them, let it come out and let them fall? Or what do you think about that?
Exactly. Let all the documents come out, and whoever's on them, we need to know who they are, no matter whose team they're on, if they're Democrat or Republican or whatever. It doesn't matter if they're a judge or they're a priest or, it doesn't matter. Put out the information, and so that we can judge on that information. And then hopefully somebody can, get some justice, based on the evidence that has been collected, Yeah,
and I think what I find so interesting, Eden, is people, even I have a video here, I'll bring it up, where Trump is like, Bill Clinton, I think it's terrible. I know he's, it's like, and imagine talking about it. If Bill Clinton is a pedophile, right? Why would you feel bad about, you know what I mean? That's what's so odd to me, is like, prisoners, okay, the worst of the worst in our society, rapists, murderers, burglars, whatever, they're in jail, but they all agree. I mean, what happens to pedophiles when they get to prison?
Right. Well, I mean, if the inmates find out, which a lot of times they do, they can get raped or beaten really bad, or sometimes how can I say this? Passed away,
They get unalived. Exactly.
Yes, unalived.
And that's just what I think is so interesting, because we have so many people, like, I'm Jewish, my wife's Catholic, but we have so many people who act like they're Christians, right? And if you're a true Christian, I believe, and you really believe in the teachings of Jesus, then you would welcome immigrants. Obviously, I think we all agree on that pedophiles should go to prison and let prisoners handle them, and that any illegal immigrants who are committing major crimes, pedophiles, whatever, we all agree that we don't want them in our country. Why would you? But I just think it's so harsh. Like, Jesus would say, oh yeah, get rid of the pedophiles, but Jesus would accept all immigrants. So I don't know if you're religious or anything about that, but I always wonder how people are able to justify that, believe in Jesus, but also be totally MAGA, because Trump is not a Christian, like, he's not sent by God, so what do you think about that?
Right. Well, so obviously in the Bible, if people read the New Testament of the Bible, Jesus came from another land and came into Jerusalem, and he was focused on the Gentiles, and the Gentiles were basically the immigrants that were different, that didn't have the same teachings as the how I could say this, the Old
Mhm.
Testament teachings. They weren't abiding that kind of stuff, and so he was open arms to that. And like
Mhm.
you said, he was basically an immigrant himself,
Right.
into that land, and he accepted all people. He loved all people, and
Right.
that was the whole point. Is that if you wanted to follow him, which is Christianity,
Mhm.
is Christ follower.
Mhm.
Christ loved all people. You
Everyone. Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be, judging people based on this and that and whatever, because like he said, what's the saying that he without sin cast the first stone,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Very interesting. And I think, and I just basically live by do unto others as you want done to yourself.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's so simple, right? It's like, would you want somebody to walk up and spit in your face? Well, no. So I'm not going to walk up to anybody. Would you want somebody to call, like to hurt your loved ones? No, of course not, And this is
Right.
funny, people always ask me this, why did the last administration protect the pedophiles? And the answer is because they were on the list. People always say, well, why didn't this come out? Why didn't this come out? Because the truth, comes to the light when it comes to the light. You know what I mean? So people are saying, why didn't anybody care about this? I think because they've hid this thing, because everybody, they're all, now the only person I've heard who's not on it is Obama. They didn't find him, but Trump is mentioned in the files 5,300 times. And you're just like, I think the problem is I can accept, I don't idolize any American president. So if Bill Clinton, honestly, Bill Clinton was a great president in terms of like the economy in 1995 was booming. Like everybody I knew, that was when my dad had the most successful year of his law firm. I knew so many people. The stock market was killing. I remember I have Coke stock and Coke split. And it was just the most prosperous thing. And then remember, it was just Monica Lewinsky that we were all, he got his dick sucked. Like, don't you wish sorry for my language. I wish we could go back to the days where our biggest problem was our president got head from because look where we are now. And it's just, and here's something funny. Like this guy, this is a guy, he says, nice cup chair, Sam, your husband is a real trooper. And it's so funny, again, if I was gay, it's just so funny how they think it's an insult. And again, here's another one. This dude is gayer than cum in a mustache. And it's so funny because like half these people are projecting their real feelings. It's just like, it's hilarious to me thinking that gay is an insult at all. And it's so childish, because what I find is like they say these names, but that's it. That's all they have is just name calling, So, and I think I have somebody here also. I don't know who this is. They're not showing up. Are you there? I spell this wrong. Ranji. Uh-oh, here he is. Hey man, how are you doing? This is great, guys. This is honestly the second time I've ever had people come into the comments to chat. I spell this Ranji. Ranji, what would you like to say? Welcome to Samson's world. Okay. Are you there, dude?
He looks frozen.
Is he frozen or is he just?
He looks frozen because he's not blinking.
Yeah, maybe it's cold where he is. All right. Let me know, Ranji, when you get unfrozen. We're here for you, baby.
But you know what? I mean, like you said about how people are name calling, like sexual preferences. It's just like, oh, you're straight as hell. It's just dumb, right? It's like, why is that even something that you would talk about somebody? I could see that maybe even in the 60s and 50s, maybe when it was like, so taboo. But now we're in a different place. Like, why is that even something that comes out of people's mouth? It's so childish.
It is. And here's the thing. They all like this. I get every day. Democrats are on the list. Joe Biden showered with his daughter. Like, what I really wish is that, and I realize people are not great listeners.
Yes.
Because if Biden showered with his young daughter, send him to prison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they act. I think what MAGA has such a hard time is because for the first time, Donald Trump is the most polarizing, captivating president or even human in history. You know what I mean? Because we have cults. We had like David Koresh and Waco. You know what I mean? You've seen documentaries of these cult leaders. Remember, what was it, Heaven's Gate, when that guy got 600 people to commit suicide? I feel like if Trump said, "Hey guys, let's commit suicide. We're gonna go to MAGA land."
Right.
I mean, you could get millions of people to do it. And so I think what's dangerous about it is because they idolize the president, they think other people idolize the president, you know? And I'm really shedding these gang colors of red and blue, Democrat versus Republican, because I realize this is all, you know, it's meant to be this, you know what I mean? It's meant they're trying to keep us fighting, because then we don't realize what the real issue is that they're stealing our money, you know?
Yeah, I always thought about this, like, why is there two different parties? Why not just have, you know, this person is running for president, that person is running for president, and whatever ideas they're offering on the table, that we vote on that, you know, as opposed to a particular party, because then now you're forced to vote for that person or the other, or just not vote at all, as opposed to just voting. Hey, if you're running, you know, share your ideas, you know, campaign, you know, all of that, but run on your own as opposed to a party. But I think I mean,
you know what I mean? This two-part, I don't think we'll ever, like, Ross Perot was the only one I've ever seen almost win, like, I don't know if you remember Ross Perot.
Yeah, I do remember.
He was that like billionaire who he had
big ears.
Yeah, remember when he talked, like, remember they would make fun of him on SNL and everything, Ross Perot. I think he was probably the closest we ever came to like a third party. But I think the problem is when it comes down to it, Republicans and Democrats have such a lock on our political system that it's, you know, and I think like this person said, you on the left have many illegals who are pedophiles. And I think that's the thing. This is where I'm saying people aren't listening to me. If I have a daughter, I have children. Like, if I have no patience for anybody who talks down to a woman, you know, like I saw Trump yesterday said to Caitlin Collins on CNN, and say, you know, you don't smile, you know, you're a pretty woman. And I just never seen you smile in 10 years. And that's such a sexist thing to say to a woman, you know, because he asked him about the Epstein files and and I just personally, I hate seeing a man talk down to a woman. You know, it's really one of my biggest pet peeves. And what's so sad is that people see him, the way he speaks to people. He would, if he was a CEO of any company, he would be fired, you know,
and sued.
Yeah, the only place he can have a job, which is so ironic, is the most powerful office in the world. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it basically, it's like creating a hostile work environment, you know, just in general. But yeah, you know, men that talk down on women, obviously they have some like deeper issues, you know, that they're dealing with. That they just feel like, okay, yeah, I'm a man. And I'm in control, so I can say anything to you. Yeah. And, you know, it's not right. It's not right.
A lot of men, and you see why, like, you know, I've been married, honestly. I've been with my wife since I was 19, which is pretty freaking crazy. And I'm 49 now. So we've been married for 20 years. We met each other in college. It was long distance. And it's just, you know, my wife is my equal. You know what I mean? I don't look at, oh, honey, I make more money than you, so you're going to do what I say. Like, I could never tell my wife what to do. She's a soccer player, athlete. She'd probably kick my ass, you know? And so I think a lot of men, and this is why a lot of men have a problem being in relationships with a woman, is because they don't see women as their equal or almost better. My wife has helped me so many times when she's like, yeah, Sam, I just like a woman's intuition, as they say. I've had times like friends who ended up, you know, not being good for me. And I was like, well, no, you know, honey, what are you talking about? And she ends up being right. Like, women, women have just,
Yeah.
some foresight that we don't have. And so I think as a man, you have to see a woman as your equal. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
we made for each other. We are made for each other. So it's just that I think that it's a personal characteristics of these men that act like that. What are they seeking in a relationship? Is it really for financial status, or is it for beauty? I have a model wife, or just to throw around or something like that, or to bully. Sometimes people like to get in a relationship just to bully the other person, have that opportunity to do that on a daily basis.
And I tell women this. I tell women this all the time because I've seen it so much. You have to. I was a stay-at-home dad for a lot of honestly, because I've worked from home a lot. I'm a comedian, editor, entertainer, and all this. And to be honest with you, I literally was home for most of my kids' lives, raising them. And I see how hard it is to be a stay-at-home dad or mother, and that classic thing, the husband comes home and the wife better have his drink ready and the food ready and all this stuff. And it's like, it is so hard. And it's hard I remember my wife would do it sometimes. She's like, why is the house? What have you been doing all day? I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I'm like, I tried to get him down for a nap. I fed him a bottle. He wouldn't go to sleep. Like, it took me 2 hours. And then I took 15 minutes for myself to try and write or do something for me. And you have to give yourself over to your children. And it's very hard to do that. And I think, it's this, what I was saying is like, women have to have their own money. Because what I've seen is when a man will be like, no, I don't want you to work. I don't want you to work. And the reason they don't want you to work is because if you don't make your own money, you don't have a say in this house. If you don't pay these bills, shut the F up. Okay. I'm the man of the house. I'm the head of the household. Right. And I believe if a woman is the breadwinner, it's not right for her. I remember my wife would come home and say that, like, Sam, what have you been doing? I was like, I'm like, you're treating me like these men treat me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
Right.
And it's just, so I always tell women, a man will try to control you just because,
and I have been in those kind of situations where I was at home parent and my kid's father was working, and it was a big job, like you said, you got to wake them up, you got to get them clean, you got to give them snacks, you got to feed them, you got to spend quality time with them, you got to love on them and hug them and wash clothes and do dishes, and I mean, then you're kind of pooped at the end of the day. And sometimes kids, when you clean up, they mess up everything again, and so it looks like you haven't even did anything. So it's the other person comes home and they're like, what you been doing all day?
It's a thankless job. And then, I had the hardest time when my wife would be like, what did you do? I'd be like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't, I didn't have a rebuttal. Be like, well, I did this, because I walked the kid. I fed him his bottle. Like I said, I remember getting my son down for a nap was just holy shit. I just sit there like, I'm like, oh, I fucking sleep, like,
and
people,
you can't leave them because they'll wake up or they'll open their eyes back up and you're like, oh my God, it's got all over.
Isn't that the worst when you shake, you're rocking them, you get them down to bed, you put them down, you're like, and you walk out of the room and they're like, they know, like my kids just like, my 10-year-old, every night before he goes to bed, I have to go and he's like back scratches. And he even says, Daddy, put your finger in my ear. So it's like, I'm like, he likes me to freaking just do. I mean, what I do for my kids. And I'm sure a lot of parents are like, what? I still, my youngest is 10 years old. I have to go in there every night, he likes back scratches, back squatchets and massages. And, and he literally, it's so funny, our routine, he goes, can you, I scratch his back and then he goes, can you put your finger in my ear now? It just soothes him. And it's just like, we have a routine. Oh, hold on. This is actually.
And that's a relationship that you have with your children. And they look forward to that. And they're going to remember that as they get older. They're like, Dad spent all this time with us. He did this and that. It's
Yeah.
good for them. You're
Yeah,
molding them to be good people when they have that relationship with their parents. And
mhm.
some people have to take their children to daycare. They have no relationship with their children.
Right.
And by the time they get their children, they have to feed them and off to bed. The
Yeah.
schools, the daycares spend most of the time with
Yeah.
their children. And then
Mhm.
look how they turn out to be.
Right.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
always a bad story, but I'm
Yeah.
sure most children would love to have their parents, at least one of them, with them at home to
Of
take care of
course.
them,
And I think it's important for a parent to be home, and I remember, my daughter, I really realized that, the way I love her will help her to identify how she should be loved by a man. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like the
Yes.
way I treat her, obviously, it's just the way I love her and show her affection. That is how a man should show, you know what I mean? And I think if you don't show your kids love, they don't know how to identify love, or if you're a father who yells at the mom in front of them, they think, oh, that's love.
Right.
Because that's all I knew, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think
Right.
even me showing my wife love and
Yeah.
how I am affectionate with my wife, how I treat my wife shows my kids, it shows my sons how to treat a woman, and it
Right.
shows my daughter how she should expect to be treated by a man.
Exactly. You're the role model. You're the template of what a
Literally.
man should be like for both of your son and your daughter. And that's a good thing. Like
Mhm.
you said, they are a product of their environment. So like you said, if the parents are arguing all the time, or you see they're fighting or physically fighting,
Yeah.
that child, first of all, it's going to be traumatized. And
Yes.
as they get older, they're going to need help, but they may also get into relationships similar to what they have been used to,
Right. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Because I see so many strong women. I mean, I don't know if you know Tiffany Haddish. Do you know the
Yeah.
comedian? So she's
Yeah.
like she's one of my best friends.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was, when she was homeless, I knew her when she was homeless and was taking care of her when she didn't have anywhere to go. When she had an ex-husband who beat her up and gave her a black eye. And I'll never forget, she came to my house with a black eye, and I helped her to get to a friend's house to hide her out from her husband. But it's like, Tiffany is one of the strongest women I know. But to see that this man was manipulating her, he would say, oh, you're not funny. Nobody likes you. Everybody's laughing at you. They don't really respect you. And it was like, no, everybody loved her. But this man was just trying to get into her brain that she was the issue, you know?
And the thing is too, like I just got done watching her. She was on Funny to Know You, I think, just recently.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
same studio, Byron Allen. I just did Comics Unleashed at CBS, and my friend Vanessa Graddick, she's a producer on both those shows. So yeah, it's a great show.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, she was sharing some of her. I didn't get to finish it, but I was watching it today, and she was sharing a lot of her stories. But what we have gone through as children, right? Experiences. They do make us stronger, but they cause some other issues and help make bad decisions. Like if you are not loved as a young child and you get older, you're seeking that love, and that it could be a bad person looking for that opportunity, and they see you're vulnerable and they say, okay, yeah, I can love you, but I'm also going to mistreat you. And so you accept it because you're like, oh, well, I mean, he's still loving me. I've seen him,
Yeah.
And so
or it's
sad.
hard too. They, those abusers, they know to abuse you, and then it looks like you're going away. Like, oh, here's flowers, baby. I'll never do it again. I'm so sorry. I love you. I couldn't. Like, and you're just like, and then they're back into it.
Yeah,
it's so sad. Oh, look, I think this guy is back on here. I spell this Ranji. Ranji, are you in there, man?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What would you like to say to everybody here? Thanks for coming in on the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate you doing stuff like this. These sorts of call-in shows. I'd like to say to the audience, I call into quite a few shows, and you don't get a lot of places that'll just open it up to people the way that you do, looking for these sorts of open conversations, which I think are really healthy. It's what we're sort of missing, this online sphere can be, I think, a lot more divided than what is the actual reality when we enter life.
Exactly.
Like, these aren't things they say in chat. They're not going to say that to people's face. Some of them might, but the understanding is, like, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You assume that these are good people, like, even if they are Republican or even MAGA. It's like, if you can remove yourself from Trump and admit that what's going on is evil, and we have to do something about this. I'm not going to be upset if you elect another Republican into office. What I'm frustrated about is what's happening right now with this situation. So sorry to interrupt about what you were discussing.
No, that's great. I love to hear that, and I really appreciate it. And that's honestly the goal of my show. Like you just said it. It's just a lot of the people in the comments, they can say all this stuff and they're brave, but it is the truth. Like if we were at a bar, if we were at a restaurant and you saw me, you come in and talk to me, you know, some people, like you said, might be like, fuck you, Sam, and this and that. But for the most part, most people don't have the guts to say it to your face, because when you talk to me, you see, I'm not a nasty person. You know what I mean? You know, this is who I am from day one to day 1,000. If you meet me in person, I'm just this guy. There's no act going on here. And you hit it on the head. That's the problem now, is we're not talking to each other. And I tell this to my kids all the time. The internet, the devices, social media, and specifically texting is the downfall of our socializing right now. Because, you know, haven't you ever text somebody when you're mad? I've done that with my wife, where I'm like, you know, you did this, and I'll say something so nasty, but I won't say it to her face. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy to say something through text. And I really think we need to have more town halls. Like, really, you know, people you just disagree with on every point. You know, I guarantee a lot of MAGA, and they're like, oh, you like to fish? Yeah, I like to fish. Oh, you like to drink? I like to drink. We have so much more in common with each other than we do with politicians, you know? And I think that's what's gonna save us as a country, is us coming to the table and having these hard conversations. You know,
that's how I see your space, as like this town hall, hopefully, that can, and why I could like to call into shows like this and really to tell and suggest other people to as well. Cause I'm like, that is what we're missing, where I had a question kind of for I'm a bit younger. I'm early 30s. And so this was the first time I voted between Trump and Kamala. And I was curious if, like, you know, as you were growing up with this discussion of politics, was there more of it happening at bars and, you know, places out at Christmas, even with your family? Was there more of it? Or
no? You know what is so crazy, and this is why, like, I always say, I've never idolized a U.S. president. Like, when I was in like, what's really sad is, like, most of the people I went to college with, a lot of them are Republican. Some of my friends are, like, that I know, are hardcore MAGA. Like, one of them went crazy. I just don't talk to him anymore because he said a bunch of anti-Semitic stuff to me. He said I work with black people. He used the N-word and all these really nasty things. I'm like, dude, we've been friends for 20 years. And he called me up because he said, you voted for Biden, you piece of shit. You fucking, your dad works with the N-words, and you Jew, and called me the K-I-K-E, you know, slur. And I was it killed me, because, you know, I was like, what, when we were in college. So to answer your question, in the 90s, you know, I graduated college in 99. Nobody talked about politics. Okay. Clinton was in office then. Nobody had Bill Clinton t-shirts. Nobody put Bill Clinton flags on a motorcycle, a pickup truck, a boat. Honestly, that's what I wish we could get back to, where we didn't idolize our presidents. Like George Bush. Like, I never liked George Bush, but nobody was wearing Bush hats. You know what I mean? Like, it's, so I wish we could all get back to the day. Like, everybody, I hate seeing, like, high school kids and college kids talking about politics. We never talked about politics. But what's happened is, and I really think a lot of this is Donald Trump, is he's so polarizing and has created this whole movement of MAGA and this idea of making America great again, you know? And it's just like, you know, when were we great? Or, you know, a lot of people say, when was America great for any black American? You know what I mean? And it's like, so I don't know what we do to kind of tear down these walls of idolization of presidents. Like, I love our country. I idolize the Constitution. Like I realize in this last year, I've learned so much about the Constitution. I've
Yeah,
learned
I've been saying exactly that too.
I'm Jewish. I knew
So much about
nothing
law,
about
so much about
Israel.
stuff. Yeah, I had no idea what was going on because of what Trump's doing and involved in. And it's just like what we vote for and the things we do in America, even as a private citizen, seem to actually have an impact in the world at this moment. And so it is important to get out and vote. It is important to get out and talk about and care about these things. At the very least, listen to these sorts of things as they're going on. You don't have to directly involve yourself, but pay attention.
Yeah, and I think there's a problem. Like this guy in here said, it's great right now for Black Americans. What are you talking about? And I think, I think a lot of white people, they get mixed up. If I talk about white privilege, people are like, oh, there's no white privilege. And it's like, yes, there is. But that doesn't take anything away to just admit it. A lot of white people say, well, I'm poor and I don't have any privilege and And then saying that America is great for Black Americans, I just think you don't have a lot of Black friends because, it's the same if you think it's great for gay Americans, you think it's for Latinos, like it just shows me that you don't have a diverse group of friends. And like I live in Los Angeles, so I realize you can't help it. Like we go to the mall and you hear every language spoken on the earth by the time you get down the escalator. You know what I mean? I didn't know who Armenians were. I didn't eat any real Mexican food. I grew up in St. Louis, you know what I mean? And I think the real issue is that say if I stayed in St. Louis is black and white. I wouldn't have Latino friends. So maybe, my son, he did a protest today at their high school. Their high school is predominantly Latino. And he said, Dad, I walked out, we were part of this protest. ICE has been to my son's high school twice in the last month. And people are like, you're lying, this and that. But if you live in, say, St. Louis, and you don't have a Latino population at your high school, then your kids aren't coming home and saying, hey, man, so-and-so is scared to go to school. His parents are scared, so you don't have to have empathy because you're not hearing people's experiences. And so I think that's really the key for me, at least, is, when you have friends of all different nationalities, whatever it is, you hear what they're telling you, and it's impossible. Then it should be impossible for you to ignore that and not support people you care about. But I think the problem is a lot of Americans, they're in rural places where it might just be all white. So it's like this echo chamber. And then they watch something like a Fox News who's just spitting fear at them and telling them that immigrants are the problem, not they're trying to convince people that immigrants are driving your housing prices up and stealing your houses. No, it's corporations that are coming over here and buying up all the homes, and they've always done that. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
And you say, immigrants that are working, I mean, from my own experience, from what I've seen, they're just trying to work, and they're basically living in like low income areas where it's like they're barely making it, because they're already getting paid really low. So they're not like buying houses and stuff.
No, they're not buying. That's the thing where people are, and this is something I get so tired. This guy said woke-minded liberal bullshit. And to be honest, I hate hearing white people say the word woke because they have no clue. The word, like, do you want me to be asleep? Do you want my eyes, like, woke? It was a term of endearment created in the black culture to let people know, people would say, oh, Sam, you're a woke white guy. You get it. Sam is woke. It's a compliment, but they don't understand that Fox News hijacked the word, and they're can you imagine that they've convinced these people that being asleep and having your eyes closed is better than being awake? You know what I mean? They don't. That's the problem is I hate when white people say the word woke because that tells me you don't know anybody black because you don't know the definition of woke. You know what I mean? The old, like, okay, Sam, you can come to the cookout. You know what I mean? It's just so, like, even that, the word woke has been so bastardized that people don't know. Being woke means you're aware of atrocities, and that's something that we should all be aware of.
Yeah. And you're aware of the systems in place that are, purposely to for various things. But I think the reason why they use it as a a bad word is really it's a code word to start to say, okay, these group of people, we're going to call them woke, but it's really against their agenda. So it's just a code word that they're using. They're flipping it, but
what does the word woke mean to you, Eden?
Yeah, I think woke is actually seeing what's going on and knowing that those things are not right. And some of these systems that are in place are put in place to target certain race groups, genders, sexual preferences, all these different things that target to those groups of people. And so when you can step away and see that, as opposed to participating in it and being involved in all that bad stuff, that's just not right to treat people like that,
Right. Yeah.
But that's being woke, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the definition that I know of it. But they, I'll give it to them, like even Donald Trump said with the whole fake news thing, and he's given a rise to independent journalists like myself because they have discredited every single major media outlet where people are like, I can't trust anybody anymore. And
what's going to be interesting though is that him and his administration, they all kept saying fake news, CNN, fake news, these other people or whatever. But then, his friends are buying up all this stuff now. So how are they going to flip this?
Yeah, I mean, on TikTok, I can't say any of this. That's why I have to come live over here, because on TikTok, I can't say any of this stuff. And if somebody says, can anyone name a system in our law that keeps Black people below white people? Been asking for 5 minutes. And I think, this is a very common thing where I try to understand. But again, here's my answer. Go talk to your Black friends and ask them about their experience.
Right.
And I think you'll get the education and the answers you're looking for.
Right.
And I think that's the problem.
It's like unwritten, you know what I'm saying? These are things that are happening just in like, that's the culture of the group. It's not like written, it's purposely not written. If it was written, it would be blatant,
Right. And that's a problem.
Could I respond?
Yeah. And, I was just going to say real quickly, that's a problem, is why we need to learn history. People don't know about the Tulsa race riots. They don't know about Black Wall Street. They don't know Lake Lanier, that they flooded an entire Black community, or Central Park in New York was an entire Black community. And that every time Black people have built up their own, Black Wall Street, they had their own city, their own everything. And they bombed this shit, and terrorized them, So I think if you know that history, then you can understand a little bit. But go ahead.
Thank you. So, Ryan, I see your comment there. The left can respond to your question here, and so I'll explain it to you. So, the 13th Amendment was what abolished slavery, and within the stipulation there, it is except for within prison systems. And so currently within America, you could see a disproportionate amount of non-white individuals getting arrested for minor crimes, crimes that are victimless crimes, smoking marijuana, minor infractions with their cars and such, being put into these prison systems and forced into slave labor. And so, all right, there's a lot of systems in place.
And I
go read your Constitution.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody wants to. And I think that's what's so interesting about this guy. He says DEI, which is the whole DEI is so crazy to me, because diversity, equality, and inclusion, that's literally probably the three principles of Jesus.
Right.
And so even DEI is not, diversity, equity, and inclusion are not, those are three words that would make you a real Christian or just a good person. And it's just, again, they've convinced people that it's like, it's a bad thing or something.
No, I don't understand that, because the whole point of DEI was because people of a certain group weren't being able to get certain positions
Yeah.
because of their, sexual preference or their race or their gender or whatever, those things, or even their religion, So DEI was put in place to give them the opportunity
Right.
to also basically fight for that position, not to
Right.
give it to them like, okay, well, since you're Asian, we're going to give you this job. No,
Exactly.
everybody's fine. We're giving you the opportunity,
Right.
to be able to apply to
Right.
this job.
We're opening the door where it was closed. I mean, it was whole, like Charlie Kirk saying that he didn't trust a black pilot because of DEI. And it's like, just because you're black or Asia or whatever it is, it doesn't mean they're like, oh yeah, he crashed in the simulator, let him go. I mean, and what people don't understand too, and they hate to hear this, is that black Americans, and especially even females, have to work 10 times harder to get something than their white counterparts. And a lot of people just can't accept that. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with admitting it. It just is, it is what it is in our history. And it doesn't take anything away from you to admit that, you know what I mean? It's like going like this whole thing, oh, we don't want critical race theory, and like, that's just American history. I saw something in, I think it was an Oklahoma textbook, they were teaching about Emmett Till, and they said, oh, a young black kid, 14, whistled at a white woman, and they killed him, and it made white people look bad. And it's like, I mean,
they don't just kill them, they really beat them,
I mean, Emmett Till is one of the most, terrible atrocities that's happened in American history. And that woman never even, what's her name? Something Bryant. I forget her first name. Carolyn Bryant. Yeah, she even admitted that he never whistled. And just the fact that a black kid whistled at a woman, and they took him, and they did just the most monstrous, disgusting things to a child. And thank God his mother had the foresight to let the whole world see what they did. And he was a beautiful boy. And
he was from Illinois. He was from Illinois, and he was visiting family or something like that. And in that state, another state, and that's where it happened. Like, he didn't really know any better because he was from, I believe he was from Illinois. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And again, it's like all these people, if you think a black man has to work 10 times harder than me to achieve the same goal, that's racist. And see, this is the problem. When you don't have any black friends, you don't have family, people are like, I got a black friend. I know James at work, but does James come to your house? Do you have people over? Do you sit with other families? Like, that's how I was. I didn't know any of this thing. I've been like started in the black comedy community back in the early 2000s. And I remember going in there and people like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? I'm like, I'm here to do comedy. They're like, oh, okay. And I had to fit in. I had to learn to assimilate into black culture. I had to learn, don't touch a black woman's hair. I had to learn the basics of, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of white Americans don't understand. Black people are always assimilating into white culture, but very rarely, like any white people in the comments, how often have you been in a space where you're the only white person there? And I went to a club recently with my friend Brandon Brody, and I'm always usually the only white guy there, but I've done it so much I don't notice anymore. It's just not an issue. And there was this white guy there who was there. He's dating a black woman, and he looks at me in the club. He goes, "We're the only two white people here." And I was like, "Are you okay?" But and it's this kind of thing, like. So if you go into an all black space and you feel uncomfortable, you're like, oh, is everybody looking at me? Imagine how black Americans feel every day in white society, because most spaces you're having to go, you're the only one, and I just think when white people don't understand that black people have to work twice as hard to achieve the same thing, it's not racism. It's just accepting our history, and I don't know why people have such a hard time just saying it, because if we said it and talk about it, then we could move forward. But I think that's why we're so stuck right now.
Right. And you know what? I think that a lot of people have like too many stereotypes, that's why people have to kind of feel like they have to prove themselves to say, hey, I'm this color, or I'm this, but I work really hard and I can do this. And so they have to step it up a notch. They feel like they have to, because it's just too many stereotypes, and people are in certain positions that may preferential treatment, based on whatever. And so, but we all know that there's a lazy person in every race group. And it's lazy people.
Think about the stereotype of lazy Mexicans. Like people say, and I'm like, Latinos are the hardest working people on the planet. Like, period.
Hard working people, okay? And for little money, and like we were saying before, to get rid of all these immigrants that have been paying into the taxes, IRS, they never claim that money, obviously. But the government, benefits from that. So now you have all these people that are unemployed. Now you have immigrants. You're going to take all the immigrants out, and somehow, you're going to have people wanting to work those immigrant jobs that really nobody wants to be out there in the hot sun picking up anything, or working on roofs. Like, if that was the case, then those people will be in those positions already. They would already have those positions. I don't think that the immigrants are taking those jobs. They're filling those jobs. They're filling them because no one wants those jobs.
Yeah, that's very true. And people always call this race hustling. Democrats use it as a tool to win the black vote. In reality, Democrats control blacks. I mean, it's, again, all I hear in these comments, it just tells me is that you're not talking to people. You know what I mean? And it's funny how people actually think what I'm saying is racism, which is hilarious. But I think this is the biggest problem. I think if people had to actually talk to people, they would hear their experiences. What he's saying, you think me and my black family members haven't talked politics? Racism never came up, because in reality, everyone you have telling you stuff is racist in the white left. I just, people just, they don't
get along, and that was the other thing. I was actually talking to a friend earlier today, and I said, why is it that when we fill out an application or go to the medical office and they ask you for your race, and why is the race actually a skin color? When race should be North American. If you're born in North America, you're a North American. If you're born in China, you're Chinese. If you're born in Nigeria, you're Nigeria. So we need to get to a point where they can change that and just have all the countries on there. Wherever you were born at, that's what you are, know, and leave it at that. Maybe we can start fizzling out the whole race thing, which is you're either white, black, and then it goes into the countries. Like, then you have Latino, that you have a bunch of, Spanish speaking countries mounted into one group, which makes no sense. Just say where you're born from. That's it. It's like on the license.
This guy, James, says, I went to Mexico and that Latinos that live there agreed with the lazy Mexican stereotype. It's just like, what are you talking about? Did you talk to one? I mean, but see, this is a thing where you obviously don't know Latinos if you can say they're lazy. Again, I live in Los Angeles, so you see Latinos. What I love about Latinos, they will take a grocery cart and turn it into a restaurant and be making money, where white people get a grocery cart and they're homeless. You know what I mean? Like, they're the hardest working people.
They're hard workers. And like I said, there's lazy people in all race
culture, of course.
I can go to any store right now, and if I go to the suburbs, I see people on their cell phones. They're sitting down, they're talking, they're not doing their work, and it's all race groups. There's always somebody. It's not the majority, but there's always a group of people that are just lazy.
Yeah, it really is. And I hate to do this, guys, but I have to go I got to go pick up my kids. Speaking of my kids, but this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate both of you guys coming on. I'd love to have you guys come on any other day you want. I do this 6 days a week at 5 p.m. EST. So anytime you guys want to come back on, you're always welcome. I love this conversation because we need to all talk together so people don't just hear my opinion, they hear your opinion. And, because I'm not brilliant, I just try to be a moderator and be fair,
Right. Well, it was wonderful being here. Thank you for having this open discussion with the public. You don't have to do this, but it's wonderful that you've allowed this. I probably will be back one day, maybe tomorrow.
Please do anytime you want. And thank you also. How do you said I spelled this?
I spelled this wrong. You can call me
wrong.
spelt for short. That'll probably be a little easier. Thank you.
No,
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll keep an eye out for you. Like I said, I call into a lot of shows, and so definitely gonna keep an eye out. I'd love to. Hopefully, some of the people that disagree will come on, and we can have a good discussion here.
That's really what I want. Is I want some of these hardcore MAGA to have the guts to come on the show and talk. You know what I mean? And just like, I'll listen. Let me hear what you're angry about. Let's talk, because it's like in any relationship. If you don't talk about it, nothing ever gets better. And also, I just started doing reporting for the Midas Touch Network, which I'm very excited about. So that's really awesome, because they're the #1 podcast on YouTube. So I'm really excited to be working with them. But yeah, that's my goal. Is I'm really trying to amplify my voice so we can have these conversations and hopefully move on.
Right.
But you guys, thank you so much again for today. That's my daughter calling. I got to go pick her up. But you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay?
Likewise.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Thank you. Much respect. Guys, this is Samson's World, where court, comedy, and culture collide. I got to get my kids. Love you guys. Thank you for the positive dialogue. Secret Service Sam out. Samson for president of the world.
Can you freestyle rap at all?
Not yet.
Doesn't it appear to be extremely coincidental that you guys arrest people right outside of Governor Newsom's press conference? Is this really just a show of power?